So what we are saying is that energy can operate over distances of billions of miles in a cosmos that you cannot even measure. And yes, you will see, at least minimally, these types of results. Another thing to factor in is that the Anunnaki never really leave. They lead a skeletal crew on Mars, on the moon perhaps, inside the Earth, in systems, in governments, in religions. They have their minions. And things are accelerated now. And people living at the coastal regions too close, you are going to experience more and more problems with water. And yes, it is entirely possible that coastal regions will start to feel the turmoil. The Earth will start changing. We believe our vehicle pointed out to you that when the planet Uranus moves into the sign of Taurus, that will be about 2018. You will have 7 years. 7 and 8 is 25, so from about 2018 through again 2025, 2026, things settle down and are more sorted out, and you enter a new, quote, paradigm of understanding around 2028. And between then and now you have big astrological changes that you go through, big ones, very, very big ones. Does that help you understand?
It does. Just very quickly.
Go ahead, it's fine. As long as it's an intelligent question, you are helping everyone understand.
Okay. If we are to be be aware of these potential environmental hazards, such as coastal areas and changes in the water, are you aware of when this is likely to begin? Because our understanding tells us it will likely be between August and the end of September, or potentially December, but I wonder if you have any further knowledge on that.
Well, many people are tuning in, or they are piecing things together, they are decoding. The globalists do have a lot of plans for this year. Understand it. And if things start to accelerate, end of August, early September, there's key gates that they're aiming for. Yet the best laid plans can be rendered asunder and thrown all out of the window, because the gift that humans have is the gift of unpredictability. And as the masses change their minds, wake up, they shift the probes, and understand, Beatrice and everyone else, that there have been many, many plans over the last 5 years that the globalists had to squish you, smosh you, attack you, nuke you. Lots of it did not occur. The heaviest things happen in the most volatile areas, where the people have the most fear, and where they have the most guns, and where they want to harm each other to get what they want. The lower the vibe, the more primitivo it is, and the more it is root chakra fighting another root chakra. That's where the bad stuff happens. The more you raise your vibration, the more you can think clearly, and the more you can position yourself, or change the probes, or call in guidance for protection. We'll say this to you: you've never had a lifetime like this one. That's why everyone's here. And to some extent it's new territory. To another extent you have the Anunnaki inside you, their genetics, and to them it's old hat. But you must get your sea legs. So these are good questions. Now, things will accelerate. You will see activity at the last week of July. This is the summer solstice weekend, and many plans are laid right around the summer solstice. Use the sun from the sky, use the light to come in and to inform you. 6 weeks from now, you will come to what is called August 1st, or Lammas. The week prior to Lammas is a week of high ritual sacrifice among the globalists who like to control the world. The humans are harvesting their vegetables. The globalists are laying plans to wreck everything. Build your plans and love the earth and love yourself, and understand that the forces of darkness and evil may undo themselves in a very spectacular way. But in order for them to be corralled and contained, those beings of goodness and integrity must live that out greater than ever before in their own generosity of beautiful living. It is big choices that are occurring. They set things into motion, and Lammas is often known as the sacrifice of the king. The king, a leader, often is sacrificed at Beltane to fertilize, to let the realities they want come into being. And then at the harvest time, another powerful person is sacrificed or killed to give thanks for the harvest, because then the real kicker starts at the equinox. And there are suspicious events out there. But understand, you've set out to do things on your own and everything fell apart, yes? Anyone ever have that happen? Yes. A few snafus? The globalists are dealing with this all the time, because do not think they all like each other and they get along. People who do not do good works do that to each other. They use each other. So they are battling bad insider. You follow this? And there's all kinds of things going on in all the governments of the world. So there could be things that start to happen end of August. People come home from vacation. September could be some big tricks, some big shifts. Just intend that you are in the right place. Everything will work out more than fine. And get smarter. Much, much, much smarter in terms of what you know. Who else has a question? It is now Enlil's side of the family. Who is it over here?
Paul.
Paul?
Paul. Hello, Pete.
All right, loud and clear.
Okay. You mentioned that our moon is artificial. Who built it? How do they use it? And how does it affect us?
The Anunnaki use it. How does it affect you? You are entrained with the cycles of the moon. It is a supply base. Most of it, many things occur inside of the moon, because the Anunnaki are master builders. They know how to build. They know how to build on Earth, in the cosmos. That is their forte. Some of them are good at genetics, but they're really, really good at building. Rock, stone, glass, other substance you have no idea of. And they can shape worlds. They can build worlds like the moon, and then, we'll make it real simple, turn the key and fly off. In other words, they can build structures and then use them to travel. This is important to understand. So if new things appear in the sky and they look like new artificial or new planets or something, it can be holographs, it can be literally something that is real, it's moved around. You must expand your what you think is possible. So they use it as a supply base, they use it as high ground. If you've been in military, any military company is always going to go to high ground because you have a better vision and you can see. They have positioned it so that it appears in the sky to be exactly the same size as the sun. Yet the sun is 93 million miles from Earth, the moon is 250,000 miles. Wow, that's miraculous. How does it affect you? It entrains you to certain cycles of consciousness. Is this bad? It is what you incarnated into. It is a system that you are not really probably going to change. But you know, a few years ago, someone must have figured something out. 10 years ago or something, our vehicle came across a statement by some scientific on your world. He said, we could fix everything if we blew up the moon. And then that was it. He obviously knew something, yes? Yeah. Now, it's always best to work with what's around you. If you can't fix it, condition it. The moon itself is not bad. The Anunnaki, some of them have not the best of intentions, others have evil intentions, and others have good intentions. And the moon is basically reflecting the light of the sun. And so the cycles that you are in can be used. Ask any gardener that understands how to plant. Everything can be done by the moon, and you can gain tremendous benefits from the moon. But certainly they can use the moon to send frequencies at your Earth, to do weather control to Earth, to do all manner of things. And there's much more to say, but we will move on, Paul, to another question. And the moon is basically reflecting the light of the sun. And so the cycles that you are in can be used. Ask any gardener that understands how to plant. Everything can be done by the moon, and you can gain tremendous benefits from the moon. But certainly they can use the moon to send frequencies at your Earth, to do weather control to Earth, to do all manner of things. And there's much more to say, but we will move on, Paul, to another question from someone else. Who else has a question on Enki's side? Lawrence, we heard your name loud and clear. Welcome.
You were talking about...
Hi, Peace. Hi, Peace.
Hi, Peace.
Good. We like to hear that hi, just so that you know that we are really real, and we do not want to be encyclopedias. Do you understand? We are not encyclopedias or something that you can use because we look like we are available. That's why a little hi just opens the protocols. All right, now continue.
We were talking about how
Mr.
the
Lawrence
moon affects our gardening.
Yes.
I was reading about biodynamic gardening.
Yes.
Introduced by Rudolf Steiner.
Yes.
How can it help our gardening on a bigger scale? That we use astrology with our gardening.
Well, study it. There's plenty of people who've done the research. Steiner was certainly a genius in his own right, but his organization and everything got infiltrated very badly, you know, by the timing and the Nazis and all these kinds of things. But knowledge is knowledge. And many, many people are very, very smart today, and there's all manner of books out there about how to plant and when to plant. So we cannot spare our time to educate that. We will certainly direct you towards finding books in the library, online, and people have laid it all out, and we'll say this. Those who know how to garden, when to plant, when to harvest, it's not just the moon. It is the earth. It is the plants. Once you understand what they like and what helps them thrive, they can grow to magnanimous size. The fruits, the vegetables. People are going to go back to this. This is something that will bring them greater joy. Too many people on your planet have no idea where food comes from, what is involved in its process, and you have become ignorant completely as a people about something that you can't do without. Think about it. Think about that, really, the statement we've just made. And everyone, we would like to see everyone grow something, even if it's parsley. And parsley has all kinds of magnesium, and it's absolutely wonderful. You get it on your plate, you think, why do they put that ridiculous parsley on there? Because it is the ultimate digestivo. And it enhances your system, and everyone needs to learn more about nature and food, and how when the sun is in, or the moon is in a sign of fire, it's not a good time to plant. When the moon is in a sign of water or earth, it is. And so you must study the cycles of the moon, and that means you must look up. And you start by knowing when there is the dark moon, the new moon you had a few days ago, and then 2 weeks later the full. New is when you plant, full is when you harvest. If you remember that, just those simple things. When it's dark, it's beginning. When it's full, it's lit up. This helps you understand how consciousness operates. And you ask anyone in the hospital profession, the arresting profession, that's law enforcement, or people with big families and schools, everything goes double bonkers at the full moon. Day before, day of, day after. Your plants love it. The plants love to grow under the moonlight. It gives a certain extra flavor and touch to the food. I mean, you've had tomatoes, and then you've had tomatoes. And it's how you work with it and understand that just as your pets respond to your petting them and loving them and talking to them, plants love it when you treat them well. Even if you put your head out in the morning and say, "Hi, garden, you're doing really well, I'll be out later." Sounds like you're a nutcase, right? But you're not. Everything responds to energy, especially your thought. If you want your garden to really grow, have a picnic around it and have kids play and make music. Don't play boom boxes and things, but to have someone sing or play music or dance. The plants love it. Everything responds to everything else. But you have become so electronically taken over as a people, you are losing your ability to understand nature. And this is where all the problems can stem from. And you have really thrown your wits into these technology things over the last 10 years. And in the last 5 years, with all this smart this and smart that, they need to change the name from smart to dumb. And if it was called a dumb phone, it did the exact same thing, you would be so dumb that you would still buy it, even if it was announced. Sorry to insult you, but we can get away with it because we speak with our eyes closed. And you know that we have kindness in our hearts. We are just giving you the brutal truths, friends, so that you can get awakened a little further. All right, whose turn is it? Enlil's side, yes? Who has a question?
Anna.
Who is it?
Anna.
Anna, much louder.
Okay. I have a question about pyramids.
Hi, Peace.
Hi, Peace. Sorry. Hi, Peace. You have a question about pyramid mountains. You know, you have talked in the past about the pyramids of Giza.
Cannot hear a word or understand what you are saying. We're going to have to move to someone else. Just because we cannot get it.
Noel.
Noel, go ahead.
Thank you.
Good.
Hello, Pete. I have a question about the apparent increase in the numbers of transgender people around at the moment.
Yes.
And I'm just
The
wondering,
increase in the number of transgender people.
yeah. And I'm just wondering, is there any particular reason for this?
Yes, it has an agenda, of course. If there was no agenda, it wouldn't be in the media everywhere. Now, understand that you live again and again. You live as man, you live as woman. For most people, the soul makes the transition and adapts relatively easily. So that when you're in the male body, you are dealing with the male hormones. When you're in the female body, you are dealing with the female hormones. And this has worked in terms of reproduction, in terms of the stability of nature and the living library. It has worked for thousands and thousands, an untold number of years. What's happened, let's say, from maybe the 1950s, the 1960s, a lady named Rachel Carson, we believe that's her name, she wrote a book called Silent Spring. And she wasn't scientific, and she sort of blew the whistle on the scientists and said, hey, you see all this DDT and all these poisons that you canny people are making, and remember one of the homes of the great chemical producers that caused all kinds of problems was Germany, IB Farben. They are a big problem on the planet, along with DuPont, along with, you name it. They're Nestle's, they're all in it. They're the chemical companies. And so it started years back. And Rachel Carson saw it, and she said, hey, you're ruining the planet, the animals are growing double sex organs, everything's getting confused. Then time moves forward, and then by now you have all kinds of pharmaceuticals, and perhaps in the 80s, early 90s, scientifics are saying, you know, we look at the reptiles, we look at the amphibians, the little creatures that live by water. If they are going through transformation and they are having no genitals, both genitals, if they are changing halfway through life, something's going on. Nature is messed up. Scientifics say yes, it is all the meds and pharmaceuticals and chemicals from plants, from cleanup, from electricity. You're polluting the earth, the stuff goes in the water, it goes in the air, and it breaks up the messages of continuity within the chromosomes, destroys the chromosomes. Chromosomes are within the cells and the DNA matter. Now, So this has always happened, that either there's a soul mix-up, a person says, you know, I'm in a male body, but I remember being female, or I want to be female. I don't relate. Often they might not even believe in reincarnation, but they remember. Now, because of this ubiquitous spread of chemicals that are destroying your biological integrity, and an anything-goes, ultra-permissive lifestyle, and memories coming up without people understanding them, people are insisting now that they are not who they are. We are observing. We will say this: it is not a good idea to cut off body parts to change your identity. Whether it is a head transplant, or whether it is putting a pig heart in your body, or cutting off your penis, or rearranging your vagina, or adding breasts when there's none there. If you have to put all kinds of medicines in the body to reshape the body and convince yourself that you are now what you are not, because you cannot. We know this is completely politically incorrect, but again, we are going to tell you the truth. You cannot really turn a man into a woman, or a woman into a man. You can turn a person into an image of it, and they may feel more comfortable because when they look in the mirror, it meets their expectation. But a man will never be a woman, and a woman will never be a man. You may want to be, you may act like it, you may think like it, and you may take the hormones to make your body artificially feel that it is. But if you stop taking the hormones, you can't. So what's happened is you have an ultra-permissive society today. There is an agenda by people who want to break down the family. If they break down the family, then they know that they'll create chaos on the planet. The family, the mother, the father, the children, the out-picturing of the family that has always tolerated a few that are different and said, well, there's always an odd duck, but we are a family. Once that goes out the window, and you have no allegiance, no place to sanctuary, no place to turn to, and no ability to reproduce, which is happening to male and female everywhere. They can't reproduce anymore. You see the long-term range? And you have something on your planet that was called Atlantis. And one of the outstanding problems that came out of Atlantis is the Anunnaki were engaged in Atlantis, and it was Enki and part of his family. Too much genetic engineering. And they started to do exactly what you are doing today, turning men into women and women into men. And then they started building beings who were part animal and part human. And most of this was to entertain, but much of it was for sexual gratification. Do you understand what we are saying here?